Hello, everyone. Welcome. Thank you so much for coming out. I'm super excited to share this with y'all. So we're going to be reading our spring project at Black Box. But to start, Black Box is a club at SCAD. We're a democratic writers' room. We work together over the course of a quarter to write an original pilot for a TV show. Every quarter, we select a new pitch. This quarter's pitch was contributed by Aimee Martins, who is our executive producer. And it's a really fun show, y'all. I hope you're excited. It's a tale of revenge and heartbreak and sword fighting in medieval Japan. And I don't want to give away too much, but it's a lot of fun. So I will introduce myself. Hello, I'm Ben Elhav. I'm the showrunner at Black Box this quarter. I'm the club president and founder. And I'm super happy to be here with all of you.
Hi, my name is Aimee Martins. As Ben said, is the executive producer of the spring Black Box Quarter. I pitched the idea and we all came together to create this amazing script.
Hi, my name is Brian Albert Vega. I was a story editor for this project, which just meant that I led a small group of people to work on a portion of this script.
Hi, I'm Josh Crabtree. I was also a story editor on this project.
Hello, I'm Ronan Lovely O'Connor. I was a staff writer on this project.
Hello, I am Alex Bazil, and I was also a staff writer on this project.
Hey everybody, I'm Michael Jordan. I was one of the writer's assistants for this quarter.
Hi everyone, I'm Gabby. I was also a writer's assistant.
Hi guys, I'm Christina. I was a writer's assistant as well.
Hi, I'm Gabby. I'll be reading for Mizuki.
All right. Well, without further ado, let's get this show on the road. Get us started.
Asagao, Fall 7, Rise 8 pilot. Written by Ben Elhav, Aimee Martins, Garrett Mistoler, Brian Albert Vega, Joshua Crabtree, Dwayne Chappell, Elliot Ferro, Ronan Lovely O'Connor, Alex Bazil, Michael Jordan, Gabby Irving, and Christina Kelley. Exterior theater night, 1368 CE, Japan. A small audience of nobles sits around a pavilion. A stage beneath its roof. A towering castle looms just beyond. An actor in women's clothing and feminine mask takes center stage, freezes in an elegant pose, arms to the heavens. 3 drummers and a flutist kneel at the back of the stage, wait motionless. The shoulder drummer calmly lifts a hand to strike. The chorus all take a deep breath. The shoulder drummer strikes, the others play. The actor dances around the stage, flirts with a hand fan to slow, rhythmic chanting and drum beats.
I see, oh, no, I see, oh, no, I see, oh, no.
Front and center in the audience, Hanukkah Aiko, female, mid-20s, noblewoman in lavish silks, watches with half-hearted interest, hair pinned in a bun, heavy makeup. At her side, Oyodo Saisei, male, late 30s, stoic lord with faded scars. He watches the play stiffly. Servants arrive by Hanukkah's side, serve her tea in priceless porcelain. She bows as they depart. Hanukkah looks at Saisei. He glances at her out of the corner of his eye. She leans over, whispers in his ear. He looks at her with one raised eyebrow and a smirk, returns his focus to the play. She keeps her eyes on him, slowly and inconspicuously reaches towards his lap, rests a hand on his thigh, caresses her hand up his leg. He sits up straight, holds his composure amidst the crowd. On stage, a performer in a bloody demon mask chases the cross-dressed actor. Interior, Chihaya Castle, hallway, night. Hanukkah and Saisei amble past translucent paper windows.
I had that dream again.
The one with the talking heron?
You know which one I mean.
Dreams are sweet, Aiko. You shouldn't put so much faith in them.
Something to hope for. A child, Saisei. Tell me you believe, or I'll haunt you like that ghost from the play.
She jumps in front of Saisei, bares her teeth but can't hold back a smile. Saisei pulls away, Hanukkah's smile fades.
Maybe I was never meant to have a son.
You mean a daughter.
Saisei smiles half-heartedly.
Never know.
Hanukkah grabs his hand.
Let's find out.
She leads Saisei to a closed door, slides the door open. A shadow passes outside the nearby window. Saisei startles. Hanukkah goes to pull Saisei in, stays put. She turns back to him, notices his pale look.
You always get so nervous. We wouldn't have so much trouble if you just relax.
I thought you're right.
He follows Hanukkah into the room. The door slides shut. Interior, Chihaya Castle, private chambers, night. Hanukkah and Saisei enter their bedroom, immaculately clean. Hanukkah leaves Saisei for another room, looks back over her shoulder at him as she reaches its door.
Wait for me.
He smirks. She disappears into the adjoining room. Interior, Chihaya Castle, dressing room, night. Hanukkah shuts the door behind her. She moves to a low table with an assortment of organized cosmetics. She removes the brooch from her bun. Her hair cascades down her back, unravels until it falls to her ankles. She kneels at the table, sets the brooch down, picks up a hand mirror, gazes at her reflection. Interior, Chihaya Castle, private chambers, night. Saisei removes his robes and undershirt, revealing a chest of latticed battle scars. He heads for the futon. A breeze. He halts, turns to the source of the sound, squints. An open window across the room, an ominous cloudy moon in the night sky beyond. Saisei stands motionless, listens. Another breeze. He tiptoes towards a nearby table, opens his drawer, pulls out a tanto dagger. He turns to the window, creeps towards it, tanto at the ready. The wooden floorboards creak with each step. Saisei reaches the window, lifts a hand to close it when the floor creaks behind him. He checks his shoulder when a hand forcefully covers his mouth, jerks his head back. A quiet scuffle between Saisei and an intruder clad in black. Saisei tries to break free from the grapple. Saisei swings the tanto behind him. He nicks the intruder's brow. The intruder catches Saisei's wrist. With Saisei exhales a muffled groan beneath the intruder's hand. The tanto slips from Saisei's hands, clatters to the floor. Intercut, dressing room, private chambers. Hanukkah hears this clatter, looks at the closed door for a moment, turns back to her reflection in a handheld mirror. The intruder grabs the tanto off the floor, drives it into Saisei's back. Saisei gasps, breathless. His eyes shoot open. The intruder rips the bloodied tanto out. Saisei stumbles backward towards the futon. Hanukkah uses a damp sponge to wipe away a stroke of makeup. The intruder slashes Saisei's chest, a spray of scarlet. Hanukkah wipes away another stroke of makeup, another slash, blood in the air. Hanukkah wipes the last bit of her face clean. The intruder drives the tanto into Saisei's chest. Saisei exhales a last breath, collapses onto the futon. The thump. Hanukkah looks to the closed door.
Saisei?
Hanukkah listens. Only silence. Sets down the mirror, stands. Interior, Chihaya Castle, private chambers, night. The side door opens. Hanukkah enters, petrifies in horror. Saisei lies dead on the bloodied futon. The tanto's hilt protrudes from his chest. An Asagao flower lies in the wound's pooling blood. Hanukkah screams a chilling wail. Interior, Chihaya Monastery, private chambers, day. An echo of Hanukkah's scream fades. Sunshine spills onto the pristine sheets of the futon. No traces of that night remains. Hanukkah stands at the end of the futon, dresses herself in a plain gray Buddhist robe. Her hair is shoulder length, dark circles under her hollow eyes. She stares at the empty bed as she dresses, winces when she wraps the robe around her chest. Hanukkah kneels at a table by the window, a worn wooden tea set laid out before her. She gazes out the window. 2 samurai horsemen ride uphill toward the castle monastery. Exterior, Chihaya Monastery, Day. Perched at the summit of a hill overlooking a town, the former Chihaya Castle undergoes conversion into a monastery. Monks and nuns meander about the grounds. Intercut. Interior, private chambers. Exterior, Chihaya Monastery. Hanukkah carefully spoons ground tea leaves into a bowl. Builders lift a bronze Buddha statue into place beneath a bell. A monk oversees. Hanukkah uses a wooden ladle to scoop out hot water out of the kettle onto the tea leaves. Whisks the mixture. The 2 samurai ride through the open castle gate. Dismount. Ida, male, mid-20s, barrel-chested and brawny, and Unagi, male, late 20s, bony with a fidget. A monk and stable boy approach Ida and Unagi, bow deep. Hanukkah lifts the bowl of tea to her mouth, grimaces before the bowl touches her lips. She sets the bowl down, clutches her stomach with a wince. She takes a deep breath, then lifts the bowl again to her mouth, slowly sips the steaming tea. She swallows, struggles to hold it down. Interior, Chihaya Monastery, prayer hall, Day. Monks meditate beneath the shining Buddha statue. Ida and Unagi kneel before a praying monk, male, 40s. The praying monk thumbs through stringed prayer beads, blesses the samurai.
Namu Moho Winye Koyo Namu Moho.
Hanukkah arrives beside the praying monk, rests a hand on his shoulder, breaks his trance. He stands, leaves. Hanukkah bows to Ida and Unagi. She kneels before them. The samurai bow in return.
Venerable, a pleasure.
Indeed, Venerable Hanukkah. To witness the conversion of this castle with our own eyes is a blessing in itself. We hope your monastery enjoys it.
Thank you. But the spirits of this place have not yet found rest. Tell me, what of my request?
Unagi looks down at the floor.
Your request is...
Unfavorable.
Unfavorable?
Ida eyes Unagi.
Lord Oyodo will still entertain an audience with you at his court, but do not expect any course of action to be taken.
How can he ignore this?
He is Soro now. Oyodo's will is law.
If we are to find peace, then you must set an example.
It is in the Oyodo clan's best interest if you drop this lust for revenge.
Hanukkah stands in a huff.
Get out.
It is unbecoming of your vows.
I do not call for revenge. I demand justice.
Your emotions are straining negotiations.
Damn the negotiations!
The room goes quiet. The monks stare at her. Hanukkah turns her back to the samurai. Tears stream down her face. The 2 samurai stand.
We did not mean to offend you. We only deliver Oyodo's word.
Hanukkah shuts her eyes, breathes heavily, a pale, sickly look on her face. The samurai turn to leave. Hanukkah stumbles, braces herself against the wall, retches.
Venerable.
Hanukkah vomits a bit of watery bile onto the floor. Everyone watches with horrified disgust. Unagi moves to Hanukkah, rests a hand on her shoulder.
Venerable Hanukkah, are you...
Hanukkah pushes Unagi away, covers her face with her robes, and hurries out of the hall. Interior, Chihaya Monastery, dressing room, Day. Hanukkah strips down to her underwear in front of an open closet, tosses her vomit-stained robes aside. She pulls out a fresh robe, sniffles quiet sobs, wipes tears from her red eyes. Hanukkah glances down at herself, does a double take. There's an accentuated curve to her belly. She furrows her brow. Her eyes widen. She slowly rests a hand on her belly, lets slip a surprised yet happy gasp. Hanukkah caresses her baby bump. Her breath hastens until...
Venerable?
Wood rattles. Hanukkah startles. The hallway door slides open with force. Hanukkah rushes to wrap the fresh robes around her bare body. 3 nuns accompany Unagi and Ada. Their faces flush. They look away, bow repeatedly, back off into the hallway.
Forgive us.
Apologies, Venerable.
Unagi goes to shut the door.
I'll be out in a moment.
Unagi bows some more as they all exit. Hanukkah finishes dressing, wipes her face, deep breath. Interior, Chihaya Monastery, hallway, Day. Hanukkah steps out to join the samurai and the 3 nuns. She shuts the door behind her. Ida and Unagi bow deeply.
We didn't mean to intrude, Venerable Hanukkah.
It would be a shame if you were unable to present your case.
I'm fine. Just forgot to eat this morning.
Ida raises an eyebrow.
Please inform your Lord Oyodo that I will be arriving in the coming days. I won't allow him to settle this in my absence.
Unagi belatedly nods. Ida and Unagi bow. Two nuns escort the samurai away. Hanukkah turns. The last nun, Shizan, female, 40s, holds her back.
Hanukini, are you sure you're well?
Hanukkah cocks her head at Shizan's accusative glare.
Shouldn't you be returning to your prayers?
Hanukkah exits into her private chambers. Shizan watches Hanukkah cradle her stomach as she disappears. The door shuts. Shizan lingers. Exterior, Chihaya Monastery, side yard, done. Deep footprints crisscross the muddy plain. Piles of grain flop in one corner. Rolls of hay, iron hoof shaving tools. Hanukkah quickly adjusts her religious headdress farther down her forehead. She glances up to the gray, dreary sky, frowns. Sticks her hand out, a drizzle lands in her palm. Two accompanying nuns silently exit behind her, heads bowed, hands in their sleeves. The stable boy passes Hanukkah, arms wrapped around a heavy pail of water. Hanukkah follows him briskly.
Excuse me.
The stable boy places the water bucket in front of a stallion's muzzle, strains, turns to Hanukkah.
I need to get to Oyodo Castle. Could you take me there?
Stable boy rapidly blinks, rubs a hand behind his neck.
Yeah, I don't think I'm supposed to do that.
Why not?
Stable boy shuffles his feet, looks down.
As a matter of faith, I don't think I should be alone with you.
Hanukkah narrows her eyes.
If it's coin you want, just say so.
Stable boy perks up. The nuns glance at each other briefly. The stable boy goes to the horse shed. Hanukkah looks over her shoulder to the nuns, shrugs. An aged whiny, the stable boy drags a dingy, flea-ridden steed towards Hanukkah. Her face falls. The horse neighs lamely, its knees knocked together. Hanukkah grimaces.
Is there no other one?
Stable boy glances at the horse.
What's wrong with Ichi?
Ichi struggles to swat away a fly. Hanukkah side frowns, resigned. Flops across the saddle with a huff, shimmies up, careful to avoid her abdomen. The stable boy leads the horse past the monastery gates. The nuns follow on foot, close behind. Exterior, Yoshino, Main Street, day. A forested town nestled by the monastery hill, bustles with busyness despite the rain. The trees give some protection. Lumber parades across the street on the shoulders of strong men. Fishermen and farmers aggressively hawk their products, shout at passerby, entice them with wafting hands. The stable boy leads Hanukkah past glistening filleted meat. Hanukkah eyes it hungrily. Hanukkah nears the side of a residential building. Townsfolk of all ages gamble in the shade of outstretched roofs. A crowd gathers at a particular table. A shaggy woman, female, mid-20s, with two katanas strapped closely to her person, arm wrestles a burly man. A heaping pile of gold coins and jewelry between them. A brief struggle. The man's face turns red. The woman delivers the finishing blow. The coins jingle. She jumps up.
Yes.
The crowd groans. Money passes from man to man. Shaggy woman shovels the winnings into her clothes.
Eat it.
She giggles maniacally. Backs away from the table grinning. Fuming men follow after her.
Aw, now don't be sore losers, boys.
She bumps into Hanukkah's horse. It whinnies, stopped in the middle of the street.
Hey!
The woman flips around fearfully, bows quickly, leans in with a mischievous smirk.
Put in a good word with the Buddha for me, would you? Thanks.
Hanukkah reels back. Shaggy woman scurries off. The men chase after her, shouts. Exterior, Oyodo Castle, day. Atop a hill, the stable boy, Hanukkah, and her entourage cross a bridged entrance to an imposing fortress. She pays no heed to the masterful architecture, gaze set only on the entrance. The horse halts and huffs. Hanukkah slides off, wobbles. Hanukkah bows gratefully to the stable boy. She reaches into her blouse. The stable boy flushes bright red, scurries off with Ichi in tow. Hanukkah watches curiously. Hanukkah approaches the towering gate. They slowly open. Deep breath in, out, she strides in. Interior Oyodo Castle, courtroom day. Hanukkah bows to the bamboo wood floor. The two nun escorts bow beside her. The heavy door shuts behind. Guards stand at their posts. Noblemen sit perfectly still on both sides. From a bench at Hanukkah's right, a greasy nobleman gives a closed-mouthed smile. Hanukkah's brother-in-law, Oyodo Yusei, male, late 20s, sits at front with accompanying servants. Oyodo's upturned gaze pierces through Hanukkah. His slender hand rests within the opposite sleeves, back impeccably straight and proper. Noblemen lean in.
Honorable Lord Oyodo, great and mighty Daimo, I come to you today in search of an answer.
She bites her lip, raises her head slightly to Oyodo.
There is no doubt that my husband was a strong and resilient leader, proving himself a skilled tactician in the siege of Kyoto and an architect of the ongoing treaty.
Nods and hums of agreement in the stands.
But there was more to him, so much more. For my husband was also a devoted and caring son, and an even more loving brother.
Hanukkah sits up more.
He once told me of a story between him and his younger brother. His junior was attempting to pluck a peach in their orchard, but he was too short to reach the branches and too scared to climb the tree.
Oyodo's nose crinkles.
For hours and hours he cried for the peaches, and though their parents did not, his brother saw.
Her lips part into a genuine, playful smile.
So the next day, Saisei awoke his younger brother with a whole basket of peaches, and they shared them together.
She taps the floor at her fingertips.
That is who my husband really was.
Smiles cross the Lord's faces. Hanukkah's joyful expression drains.
Then why, my lords, can you not find worthy enough cause to avenge his death? Or his years of service not enough?
Her throat closes.
Was his love not enough, you say?
Oyodo tenses.
You will not lecture me on the legacy of my brother.
My apologies. It just seemed you had forgotten, since you refused the mere thought of finding justice.
Justice is not what you need. What you need is a muzzle.
The crowd winces. Hanukkah's face twitches. The greasy nobleman stands.
Perhaps she has a point.
Lord Matsutake.
Lord Matsutake, male, 40s, the greasy nobleman, bows to Oyodo.
Forgive me, Oyodo-sama, but perhaps poor Hanukkah is right.
Oyodo tightens his lip.
By exacting due justice on the northerner who took Saisei's life, we would show ourselves as a force not to be trifled with.
Hanukkah glances about the room. Other lords nod. Oyodo shakes his head.
It is far too risky. Our border towns cannot handle another raid. Our soldiers grow weary. Insurrection may grip us at any moment, as is the case with our northern neighbors.
A sly grin grows on Matsuke's lips.
But with a risk comes reward, Lord Oyodo.
Low, pensive hums. Oyodo takes a steady breath.
I appreciate your enthusiasm for violence, but my brother sought peace. I won't allow his legacy to be threatened by wanton aggression.
He shoots a glare at Hanukkah.
Unlike what poor Hanukkah suggests.
Hanukkah's fists tighten. She sits up fully.
I have devoted myself to my husband's memory. I have kept myself to the holy scriptures.
Oh?
Sneers.
You mean abstention from falsehood, intent to harm, adultery?
The crowd murmurs at the mention. The nuns blush. Hanukkah shoots to her feet.
You cannot threaten me in this way. There's no proof.
A servant slams a palm-sized gavel on the table a few times to get everyone's attention. The room dims to silence.
You dishonor the Oyodo name, and if you do not abandon these fantasies of revenge, we will have no choice but to strip you of your late husband's estate.
He points an accusatory finger at Hanukkah.
You make a fool of yourself.
Hanukkah takes in the entire room. Frustration grips her fingertips. Her pallid cheeks warm. Grief overtakes her eyes.
A fool I may have been for believing in any of you.
The room freezes. Some murmur with dirty glances. The nuns shift uncomfortably. Matsutake stifles a chuckle. Oyodo tosses a hand up.
I have heard enough. Court adjourned.
Oyodo nods slightly. The lords rise, shuffle to the back room. Matsutake faces Hanukkah briefly, shrugs, joins the lords as they file out. The nuns behind Hanukkah stand warily. 2 guards approach, take Hanukkah by the arms. She tears away from them. Exterior Chihaya Monastery, night. A noiseless lightning strike. Rain tip-taps from the shingled roof. Monks and nuns stroll past a set of closed doors. Interior Chihaya Monastery, shrine room, night. A dimmed room, half of it full of offerings, coins, smoking incense, memorial tablets with prayers. Fresh flowers lay underneath a delicate watercolor painting of Saisei, all his scarred imperfections accounted for. Beneath the shrine, the Tanto dagger from before, a masterfully carved wooden handle, displays the family crest. A swirling fish swims clockwise, forming a medallion. Hanukkah bows before the shrine.
Sigh. Uda, he has finally answered our prayers.
She brushes her abdomen, laughs briefly, dissolves into restrained, painful sobs.
I tried, I fought, but...
She looks up carefully, hiccups. A gentle finger caresses the painting's jawline.
Yusei wouldn't listen. Think me a whore.
Hanukkah slams her fist on the floor. The picture tilts. She sobs into her hands. Thunder rumbles. Hanukkah wipes her tears lightly, sniffles. She cautiously takes the dagger from the altar.
Before I join you in the next life, I shall honor you in this one.
Unsheathes the dagger, observes its kanji inscription. Subtitle, fall 7 times, rise 8.
If others call it revenge, so be it.
Her chest rises and falls. She stares at her opposite hand.
Your blade will run through them. I will make them pay.
Hanukkah slices the dagger across her palm, holds back a cry. She brings her balled fist over the flowers, trembles. Blood plinks on the petals.
I swear it.
Her knuckles pale around the dagger. Residue blood slides to its hilt.
Exterior, Chihaya Monastery, garden, day. Hanukkah kneels by a row of shrubs, holds a plain ceramic cup of tea to her lips with a bandaged hand. Monks dotted across the lawn do the same. Hanukkah furiously scribbles into a woodblock book. Subtitle, I can't go on alone, but I'll do what I must to see it through.
You continually deny it, yet seek forgiveness.
Hanukkah leans forward. Behind a pillar, a grizzled superior, male 50s, in robes, walks with the stable boy.
You don't have the authority to interfere.
You question your elders, boy?
It was just one fight.
Hanukkah gleams. She springs to her feet. Superior gives the boy a firm smack across the face.
Violence is something we simply cannot overlook.
Venerable?
Hanukkah approaches the superior. He jolts, faces her.
Forgive me, but I overheard and
this is a private matter.
The stable boy eyes Hanukkah and the superior. The stable boy slowly shimmies away.
You need not be so harsh on the child. He will learn with time.
He is learning, but not from me.
The stable boy breaks into a run, a dust trail at his feet.
Hey!
The stable boy ducks from pillar to pillar. He breaks through the garden and dashes into the inner monastery. The superior turns to Hanukkah.
Now look what you have done.
Hanukkah peers over the superior's shoulder.
Where do you think he's going?
Back to that damned ring, no doubt. Poison to a young mind.
I'll set him straight.
The superior eyes her.
I hardly think you're one to lecture about virtue.
Hanukkah dashes away. The superior gawks after her. Exterior, Chihaya Monastery, courtyard, day. Hanukkah hustles past monks and nuns on monastery pathways. She weaves her way through 3 nuns who watch curiously. Hanukkah sprints to the gates. Exterior, Yoshino streets, day. The stable boy dodges carts and folded food stands in a busy lane. Merchants pack up their wares. The stable boy looks around, spots Hanukkah. He rounds a corner. Hanukkah follows close behind into a throng of noisy pedestrians in tattered clothes. Hanukkah halts, scans the crowd. The stable boy's head peeks out under a log hoisted by two woodcutters. He slips between them into an alleyway. Hanukkah follows into exterior, Yoshino streets, alleyway, day. Vacant. An old beggar holds out a chipped wooden bowl. Hanukkah stares. A stray cat skitters by. Behind Hanukkah, a hooded thug steps into the alley. He walks a few paces toward her. The beggar picks up his cup, runs off. Hanukkah watches him go. A whistle behind her. Hanukkah turns around. The thug closes in. Hanukkah steps back.
Do you need something?
The hooded thug smiles. Two other thugs step out of the shadows, block either side of the alley.
We just need something real quick from you. It shouldn't take too long.
The thugs chuckle. Hanukkah steps past the two thugs. One grabs her. She strikes him. Another grabs her side. She wriggles in his grasp. The hooded thug draws a rusty knife.
Come on, indulge us.
A clomp on the cobblestones behind them. The thugs turn. Shun Nakano, female, late 20s. A tall, heavily armored woman stands in the alley, hair clipped back, a sword at her side.
Unhand the nun.
The hooded thug ambles up to Shun, grins.
Yeah? And why?
Come find out.
Shun folds her hands behind her back. One of the two blocking thugs steps in.
Hey, this girl looks like trouble.
The hooded thug swings at Shun. She sidesteps, trips him. Shun shifts in front of Hanukkah. A thug reaches for Shun. She steps in and around him with a strong leg, sweeps his feet. The hooded thug throws a weak punch. Shun kicks his chest. He flies onto his back. He gets up, scrambles away. Shun turns to the final blocking thug.
Last time. Leave.
The blocking thug cowers, darts away.
Can you walk?
Hanukkah nods.
A little far from the temple, no?
Is everyone here so polite?
You must not frequent the city too often.
I never saw much beyond the walls of the estate growing up.
Shun nods.
Protecting women of our station has always been my duty as a geisha. I'd be happy to guide you.
I can handle.
The trundle of carriage wheels, a lavishly clad entourage at the mouth of the alley.
Oh, Shun.
The two turn. An ornate carriage slows to a stop. Matsutake, the greasy nobleman, pokes his head out.
Ah, my lovely Hanukkah. Need a ride?
Exterior, Yoshino Market, day. The city street is filled to bursting with geishas, beggars, and vagabonds, all push past each other. Servants heave Matsutake's cart through the crowd. Shun walks alongside. Passers-by groan and shout as they squeeze by.
It's absurd.
Interior, Matsutake's litter. Day. A pot of incense smolders by Matsutake. Priceless artwork decorates the carriage sides. Painted trees stretch across the walls. Blue and green demonic oni chase after half-naked women. Fierce samurai battle to their gruesome deaths. The compartment jolts.
They squawk for hours about honor and legacy and heritage. Hog shit, all of it. Most are relics, spending their lives behind castle walls writing poetry. And the rest, well, your removal would make many breathe easier.
Exterior, Yoshino Market, day. Servants strain as they hoist the litter along. Stomp over the peg leg of an elderly beggar. Grind it to sawdust. Interior, Matsutake's litter, day. Hanukkah grimaces at the screams from outside.
Do the others know of your travels?
Few ask questions, and those that do, I simply drop a bag of gold at their door and say, I am Matsutake Dokutsu. Piss off.
Hanukkah raises an eyebrow.
Shocked? Yet I find you, of all people, wandering alone out here. What exactly are you looking for?
I have my distractions, my lord. Same as you.
Matsutake winks.
We'll keep our secrets then.
So it's never about tradition. The other lords are all against me.
Why not? Your justice would certainly cause problems for their precious peace. Self-righteous cowards. think kowtowing to the enemy will save us. I warned them we couldn't negotiate with those northern whoresons. Now look what happened. Condolences, by the way.
They stop. A knock on the litter's door.
Finally, we're here.
What is here exactly?
Matsutake smiles.
My distraction.
The door clicks open. Exterior, izakaya, night. Workers gather around the front porch of the large public building. Drink to the end of a long day. A drunken folk song wafts out the open front door. Matsutake clumsily stumbles out, pushing on Shun for balance. Shun lifts Honoka down. Honoka teeters. Shun follows behind Matsutake and Honoka as they step into interior, izakaya, bar, night. A modest bar and restaurant. Paper lanterns give the room a dim glow. Servants speed from table to table with drinks and food for patrons. 2 armed men in the doorway. They watch the trio enter. The stable boy from before argues with barkeep, a flowery-robed eccentric.
But if I could just win tonight!
To take from the pot, you must put something in. You need corn. Go beg in the streets.
The stable boy turns in defeat. Honoka and stable boy lock eyes. Stable boy hides his face, scurries into the street.
Lord Matsutake, this is... I heard rumors of fights here.
As had I. I thought I'd see for myself.
Lord Matsutake, you use your seat?
Matsutake turns to the barkeep, red in the face.
Shall we?
Exterior, back alley, night. Barkeep leads the trio out into a narrow alley. The ground is mud-piled with discarded gourds and baskets. Stomps and cheers can be heard from the building across.
We have a newcomer for tonight's entertainment. Quite a warrior.
Barkeep guides them to a door on the other building. Cheers thunder from within. The barkeep opens the door to interior, the ring. Continuous. An empty warehouse. A balcony overlooks the room. Men peer down. A horde of ragged thugs around the pit. The barkeep leads Matsutake, Honoka, and Shun to a small, luxurious space. Lavish rugs and cushions form a colorful square on the floor. An island amidst the decrepit grime. Matsutake sits, sprawls out on the cushions. Shun stands over him. The barkeep waves a hand. Servants enter. Lay a mat for Honoka. Serve cups of sake. Spectators chant and stomp. Honoka observes the room. Nearly every man carries a weapon. One thug eyes Honoka staring at his sword. She looks away.
So many katanas. Stolen?
You would think so, wouldn't you?
You can't mean they're all samurai.
Once. But when a clan falls, its warriors take to the countryside. There's Ronan, trading blood for coin.
Glances at Shun.
And this war has already destroyed plenty of clans.
The crowd's cheers grow to an overwhelming roar.
Oh, good. It's starting.
Honoka looks over the spectators. A massive shadow approaches the ring. Attendants part to reveal a masked titan of muscle and rage. He stomps into the ring. A smaller shape scrambles through the crowd, pushes its way into the ring. The shaggy woman from the market, Mizuki Hikari. Female, mid-20s. She downs a gourd of sake, cracks her neck. A Ronin hands her a wooden bow staff. She holds it up.
Where are my swords?
Boss says you use the staff.
What?
Best of luck.
The fighter, Kanabo Man, points to Mizuki, taps his head with the club.
Shit.
Mizuki chugs, tosses the gourd. She steps forward. Kanabo Man swings his club in a wide arc. The crowd is ecstatic.
Better not end in 2 seconds again.
Kanabo Man raises the club overhead, smashes it down hard. Mizuki darts back. The club thuds against the ground in front of her. She heaves forward. Mizuki spews a mouthful of sake into his eyes. The audience loses it. Some cheer, some boo, most laugh. Kanabo Man swings his club madly. Mizuki ducks under each swing. She slips behind him, smacks the back of his head. He comes after Mizuki again, but only strikes air. In the stands, Honoka is somewhere between horrified and awestruck. Matsutake doubles over laughing. Shun rolls her eyes. Honoka leans in closer.
Quite a show, isn't it?
I've seen dogs fight with more grace.
Woman of Buddha watches dog fights? No wonder I found you here.
You've had too much sake, my lord.
Maybe, but whatever could Lady Honoka want with sellswords?
Honoka shoots him a cold stare.
Don't worry, Venerable. You just might see a real warrior.
In the ring, Kanabo Man sweats. His swings slow down. Mizuki laughs, jabs him again. She ducks under another swing. Locks eyes with someone in the stands. Shun glares down. Mizuki's smile fades. Interior, small cottage, day. Flashback. A young Mizuki, female, 14, meditates on a wood floor. Mizuki peeks one eye open, looks across the hall at a young Shun, female, 15, stoic and still in meditation. A shadow falls in front of Mizuki. A stern master towers over Mizuki, his face blurred. He brings down a rod. Interior, the ring, night, present. Kanabo Man's club flies in. Mizuki snaps back. No time to dodge. She raises the staff. Crack! The club smashes through the staff, breaking it in two. Mizuki tumbles. The crowd cheers. Kanabo Man stands over her. The club comes down. Mizuki rolls. She jams the splintered ends of her broken staff into Kanabo Man's thigh. Mizuki stands over her opponent.
You bitch!
Wham! Mizuki kicks him across the jaw. Kanabo Man's mask flies off. He crumples with a thud.
Shut up.
A wave of groans resonate throughout the room. Men pass money back and forth. Several jeer at Mizuki. She smirks. In the stands, Matsutake begrudgingly hands over a pouch to a scruffy kid. Honoka peers down at the ring. Saisei lies prone in a pool of blood, Tanto in his back. In the stands, Honoka pales, blinks. In the ring, only Kanabo Man, slumped over in a puddle of drool. Mizuki glares up at the spectators, picks up the Kanabo, hurls it into the balcony. A yelp.
You call that a fight?
A hush falls over the crowd.
I came here for a challenge. Is this the best you have?
Mizuki points to Kanabo Man, moaning on the floor.
Pathetic. All I see is a bunch of fancy swords and not one man who can use his. Or woman.
Mizuki stares pointedly at the stands. Every thug in the room follows her gaze to Shun. Shun turns up her chin.
You're disappointed? Leave. I won't waste time being scoundrels.
Typical. All posture, no spine.
Murmurs fill the room. Several Ronin scoff at Mizuki. Matsutake stands, holds up a hand. He looks down at Mizuki.
Careful with your tone, girl. We're not some drunken bandits.
He stumbles a little.
Prove it. Give me my sword.
All eyes are on Matsutake. He waves at the ring. The Ronin holds out Mizuki's sword. She pulls it from its sheath. Mizuki performs a couple of practice cuts in the air. Shun and Matsutake share a glance. He nods her into the ring. Shun walks down. The wall of bodies parts. Shun steps into the ring with Mizuki. Shun calmly puts her hand on her sword hilt. Mizuki hoists her blade. The room holds its breath. Mizuki steps toward Shun, feints a slice, backs away. Shun doesn't flinch. Mizuki feints again. Nothing. Mizuki lowers her guard, walks away from Shun. Then, Mizuki throws her weapon back, yells, and launches herself at Shun. She draws her weapon far overhead and brings it down. Shun steps right. Mizuki's blow flies past. Mizuki catches herself, kicks Shun in the stomach. Shun falls back. Mizuki regains her footing, aims a precise cut at Shun's head. Shun draws, blocks Mizuki's blade an inch from her head. Both women break away. Shun grits her teeth. Mizuki growls. Mizuki assaults Shun with a flurry of blows. Shun stands her ground, parries Mizuki's attacks with crisp, rigid movements of her blade. In the stands, Honoka watches the duel with wide eyes. In the ring, the clang of steel echoes through the chamber. Mizuki's strikes come one after the other. Shun deflects each in turn. The audience watches them dance across the ring in awe. Mizuki pauses, heaves. She sweats profusely. Mizuki raises her weapon at her side in an offensive stance. Shun lowers her sword, squints at Mizuki. Exterior, open field, day, flashback. On a grassy hilltop, a young Mizuki laughs as she assumes the same stance with a wooden sparring sword. Young Mizuki charges. Her speeding body blurs into interior, the ring, night, present. Adult Mizuki. She slices at Shun. Shun grunts in pain. Blood trickles from a thin red gash across her cheek. Shun stares at Mizuki in shock. Mizuki sees Shun's face, smiles. Shun wipes the blood off her face with a sneer. Raises her sword. She attacks Mizuki with inhuman fury, swings 3 powerful cuts. Mizuki barely deflects the first 2. The third slices her shoulder open. Mizuki screams, collapses. Shun holds out her blade. Its end is a dark red.
Yield.
Mizuki clutches her shoulder, sulks, kicks Shun's legs out. Shun topples down. Mizuki jumps on top. The 2 wrestle. In the stands, Honoka watches on the edge of her seat. In the ring, the 2 roll across the floor. Mizuki grabs Shun's neck. Shun squeezes Mizuki's wounded shoulder. In the stands, Honoka swivels to Matsutake.
Stop the fight. Now.
By the looks of things, I won't have to in a minute.
In the ring, Shun clambers onto Mizuki, grabs her by the throat. Mizuki squirms, gasps for breath. Shun glares down. Her face softens. She loosens her grip. Mizuki punches her across the jaw.
Grab one.
2 thugs heave Shun off Mizuki. Mizuki stumbles after her. Her path is blocked by more thugs. Shun frees herself from a thug, takes a deep breath, calms. Mizuki lashes at Shun. The Ronin holds her back. Exterior, izakaya, night. A heavy rain pelts a few patrons who stagger out the door. Honoka watches from the building's porch. Across a stream of wet mud, Matsutake waves from the door of his litter.
It's been a pleasure, Lady Honoka. We must do this again someday.
He smacks the litter's door. Servants cart Matsutake away. Shun emerges beside Honoka, a bloody cloth on her cheek.
You aren't heading off with them?
Not tonight, fortunately. Lord Matsuke bid me see you home.
Honoka sits up.
Oh, this works out perfectly. Follow me then.
Honoka gets to her feet, turns to the door. Shun follows.
Where are we going?
To meet a scoundrel.
Exterior, back alley, night. Rainwater splashes out of a discarded gourd onto an open cut. A dirty bandage wraps around a bloodied shoulder. Mizuki sits alone by a trash heap, cradles her wound. The izakaya door slides open. Honoka and Shun walk out.
Better if you stayed back.
Shun just nods. Honoka approaches Mizuki.
Greetings, Honoka Aiko.
Mizuki gives her a long look.
I remember you. Mizuki.
I never expect someone of your stature to fight so fiercely. And your weapons, very refined.
Honoka motions to twin katanas propped on the wall by Mizuki.
Thanks. I stole them.
That's a lie.
Shun steps in front of Honoka.
Those swords were given to her by her father, Lord Hikari of...
Honoka raises an eyebrow.
Why don't you drop dead, Shun?
Honoka turns to Shun.
We used to be...
Neighbors.
I see.
What are you doing here, Shun? Are you taking orders from that fool?
Shun tenses.
I won't answer to the likes of you.
Shun, why did Matsutake really leave you with me?
Honoka stares her down. Shun hesitates. Bows.
Forgive me, I have not been forthcoming. My lord suggested I enter your service. He led me to believe I could be of assistance.
Your clan's broke, isn't it?
This doesn't concern you.
Honoka looks between the two. Grins.
Lord Matsutake is wiser than he appears.
Honoka notices movement at the end of the alley. A pair of monks. They peek around the corner, slip out of sight.
Why don't we go in?
Interior, izakaya. Tea chamber, night. Honoka stirs a cup of tea with a shaky hand. Shun catches this, sips her own tea quietly. Mizuki lounges on the floor beside them.
My lady, you ask much of us.
Mizuki perks up.
What? Why? Who are we killing?
The lady's late husband was dispatched by northern rogues.
The North is a fortress these days. I'd rather keep my head.
You weren't so timid in the ring. I'll do it myself if I must.
Have you ever been in a real fight? Put a blade through a real man?
I can't let my husband's killers go unpunished. Every breath they take insults his memory. If either of you knew anything of honor, you'd understand.
Shun and Mizuki look down in shame.
Perhaps you're right.
Honoka sways, puts a clammy hand to her forehead.
Well, know if you accept my husband's inheritance is yours.
You'd be left with nothing.
Not nothing. Not yet. I must preserve what dignity I have left. My name is slandered to ruin. What was once my home is now a prison.
Mizuki stares, eyes wide with horror.
You don't mean...
There's a river outside the castle. My husband and I used to meet there in the early days of our marriage. It is a beautiful spot. The perfect place where I might finally end my pain.
Shun simply nods.
How can we help?
The others at the monastery watch me like vultures. They've already tailed me here. They may follow me to the river and try to stop me, so I will return to them for tonight, and then you'll take me from there, unseen.
Then to the river. It'll be hard for a dead woman to pay us.
I had a fraction of my fortune after my husband died, just in case. I will tell you its location at the river. You may also, take whatever you find in my chambers.
Mizuki swallows. Shun steals.
It's better she destroy her body before her legacy. I wouldn't expect you to know that.
Interior, Chihaya Monastery, private chambers, night. Long shadows in the moonlit room. Honoka paces across a plain rug, strains to kneel on the futon, looks at the space next to her. Honoka's eyes shoot open. She stumbles to her feet, rushes to the door. Interior, Chihaya Monastery, hallway, night. A knock on the panel door. A bald guard leans on the post, cup of tea in hand.
Washroom.
The bald guard stares straight ahead.
Your chamber pot.
A sniffle on the other side of the door. The bald guard sighs, steps out of the way. The panel slides open. Honoka bows slightly. She briskly walks down the hall. Exterior, Chihaya Hillside, night. A clump of bushes parts to reveal Shun and Mizuki. Shun crouches stealthily. Mizuki yawns.
Second thoughts?
I'm still on my first.
Shun rolls her eyes.
Let's get to work.
Shun scampers off into the brush. Mizuki takes the bow from across her chest, pulls an arrow from her quiver, draws, aims up the hill at the monastery. A small candle flame in the tree-lined courtyard. Exterior, Chihaya Monastery, shrine room, night. Honoka extinguishes a flame above the portrait of Saisei. Honoka kneels, trails a hand on his face. It slides down to the ceremonial Tanto dagger. Honoka grabs its hilt. Exterior, Chihaya Monastery, courtyard, night. Swoosh! An arrow cuts through the night sky, slashes through a hemp rope holding a bronze bell. The ball clatters onto the Buddha statue from earlier. It topples. Nuns rush out of their dormitories, gathered by the crashed statue. Nervous murmurs. Honoka ducks behind pillars, weaves her way through the clamor to interior, Chihaya Monastery, hallway, night. Honoka rushes past the spilled stream of tea, slips into interior, Chihaya Monastery, private chambers, night. Honoka opens the door, startles. Shun stands at the far end, gingerly wafts an ornate fan in her hand.
This is very pretty, you know.
Honoka peers behind Shun at the tiny window, skeptically.
Keep it. Is this the way out?
How I came in.
Shun casually pockets the fan. Shouts in the hall. Honoka dashes to the window, clambers through. Shun lends a hand. Exterior, Chihaya Monastery, courtyard, night. Honoka and Shun dart across the barren courtyard. Honoka sneaks a last glance back at the estate. Shun gently tugs at her forearm. Exterior, Chihaya hillside, night. Reclined against a tree stump, Mizuki fiddles with a pack of cards. Honoka and Shun emerge from the woods. Honoka pants. Mizuki shuffles her deck.
Bring anything for me?
Plunder from a Terra. What do you take me for?
Honoka gives a knowing smile. Exterior, woods, day. Cherry blossom trees rustle in the wind. The river rushes. The wind gently pushes grass and flowers. Honoka meditates cross-legged on a mossy rock. She wears a red floral dress, a layer of white makeup on her face. Her eyebrows, eyelids, and lips are red. A few paces off by a clump of trees, Shun and Mizuki exchange a look. Mizuki places a hand on the hilt of her sword. Shun rests a hand on Mizuki's arm. Mizuki pulls back. Shun clears her throat. Honoka peeks open an eye.
Are you rested?
I've been awake all night.
Honoka blinks, turns to a small bag in the sand by her side. Mizuki and Shun approach. Honoka reaches into the bag, pulls out a letter, scans its contents. A single tear runs down her face.
Assume a kneeling position. Mizuki and I know what to do.
Shun glares at Mizuki. Mizuki stares back.
Yes, I know.
Shun unsheaths her sword. Sunlight reflects off the polished silver. Mizuki wavers.
Are you sure this is what you want?
Honoka squints.
Well, no.
Shun lowers her blade.
I'll meet my end in the rapids. The water will run my life to its course.
Mizuki flushes, steps in closer.
What?
Shun starts to speak, stops, opens her mouth.
If you see it fit.
Mizuki whips her head to Shun.
As long as you get your cut right.
Shun stares at Honoka. Mizuki looks between the two.
Honoka, are you well? Don't be so brash. Come back with us. We'll make miso. You don't have to.
Honoka rises, hands Shun the letter. Mizuki wilts. Honoka walks to the river's edge, stares down at the torrent.
You'll find your pay at the rendezvous.
Mizuki steps forward. Shun blocks her path with the flat side of her blade.
Thank you for everything.
Shun turns. Mizuki watches, pivots, follows after Shun. Exterior, forest bridge, day. Shun and Mizuki traverse a path along the river, approach a small stone crossing dotted with robed figures. Nuns, a young Ronin, and monks converse in hushed tones.
Unfaithful to her husband and herself. Good riddance.
The monks grumble in agreement. Rinzai, female, late 40s, a decorated nun, chats with Togen, female, late 30s, a more plain nun.
Give me another reason she would have disappeared.
She was snatched up by an Oni.
Rinzai snorts. The Ronin spots Shun and Mizuki, grabs the hilt of his sword.
You there!
Exterior, riverbank, day. Honoka takes the dagger, presses it to her palm. Yelps. She caresses her stomach.
It will be quick. We'll be together.
The river runs red. Exterior, forest bridge, day. The young Ronin shields the crowd.
Halt!
Shun stops. Mizuki slows her pace.
There a problem?
None has gone missing from our ranks. He left her robes, so she would have been wearing a Harari.
Mizuki halts. Shun steps forward cautiously.
You guard the Chihaya Monastery?
The Ronin nods slowly.
Not very carefully.
Shun shoots a death stare at Mizuki. The Ronin draws.
Where is the venerable Honoka?
Shun bows.
I am Shun Nakano, Ugeisha to the Honorable Lord Matsutake.
Shun reaches into her pocket. The Ronin tenses. Her hand emerges with Honoka's folded letter.
We found this by the river. It is stamped with the name of your nun.
Rinzai steps forward, snatches the letter from Shun. Rinzai opens the seal, scans the text, closes it.
I always knew she was miserable.
Why not leave of her own accord?
The Ronan looks between the nuns.
And we are to take the word of you two armed strangers?
Mizuki shrugs.
The script is hers.
Doesn't make sense.
It doesn't have to.
Shun softens.
Spoke with the Venerable Hanukkah after her husband's passing. She seemed like she'd already made up her mind.
The Ronin raises the sword to his side.
The Venerable never mentioned any Anabugesha. We don't allow armed women in the monastery.
They just might invite themselves.
The Ronin moves forward. Mizuki puts a hand on the hilt of her sword. The crowd retreats.
Come with me. I'm sure Lord Oyodo would like to hear about this tale.
We're not going anywhere.
Look!
Togen points over the side of the bridge. In the river, Hanukkah's dress floats downstream in a bloody trail. The crowd watches it pass in an awed hush. Mizuki slouches. Shun reaches for Mizuki's shoulder. Mizuki pulls back. Rinzai holds the letter to her chest. Togen turns to Shun and Mizuki, eyes to the ground.
Thank you.
Exterior, wooded trail, day. Shun and Mizuki push branches aside to reveal a rotted trail sign sunk into the ground. Branches crack and crunch underfoot as Shun and Mizuki navigate the forest. Mizuki trips over a root.
Ugh, where the hell are we going?
Shun marches on. Mizuki picks herself up.
Why couldn't you just give us our money like a normal person?
If you don't want your pay, you don't have to come.
This isn't about the money.
Keep up.
Mizuki scrambles to Shun's side.
I never seen anyone so desperate.
Cicadas hum. Shun takes a swig from a flask.
Did I ever tell you how I came into the service of Lord Matsutake?
Lost a bet?
The two emerge in exterior, wooded glade, day. In the center, a small wooden shrine, bathed in golden light. Two fox statues stand guard, coins scattered at their feet. Shun sits on a rock. Mizuki leans against a nearby tree.
It was the siege of Kyoto. We had been camped outside the walls for a fortnight.
Mizuki perks up.
Largely uneventful. The men were all drinking, laughing. I was by the fire with Toyonaga-sama.
Who?
My old master. He said I was being jumpy. The night was black, but I swore I saw shadows in the depths of the woods. He tried to ease my nerves with a joke. Something about a friendly kappa. I don't remember.
Shun smiles slightly. Her face falls.
I was the only one who saw the glint of moonlight from the swords of the enemy. It was an ambush. We survived, but barely.
And your master?
We lost too many men. He could not bear the shame. He brushed a tear from my eye and promised I would find safety with Lord Matsutake.
Shun's eyes grow cold.
I watched Toyonaga-sama take his own life.
Mizuki takes a seat.
Toyonaga-sama's flame is long extinguished, but I can still take up Lady Hanukkah's torch.
You won't have to carry it alone.
Mizuki stands, extends her hand to Shun. Shun takes it. Mizuki pulls her up.
You don't have far to go.
They return to the trail, into the woods. Mizuki tosses a coin over her shoulder to the shrine. Exterior, wooded trail, night. Shun and Mizuki pass through a thicket of bamboo, part the branches to reveal a crumbling stone arch at the trail's end, a cemetery gate.
We're here.
Exterior, cemetery, night. The moon shines down a maze of headstones. Lines of crumbling stone Buddha watch the pathways. Burnt out lanterns atop some. Wind moans softly. Shun and Mizuki wander the graveyard.
This is dreary.
Plenty of statues to desecrate, at least.
I said I was sorry.
A flickering orange glow beneath a jagged tree. Shun and Mizuki start in its direction. At the complex's center, a fire crackles. A hooded figure kneels by its side. Shun and Mizuki reach for their swords. Shun crouches down.
One of us should stay put in case.
You there!
Shun sighs. The hooded figure stands, turns. Shun and Mizuki draw.
Stay back, or
The figure pulls back their hood.
what?
Honoka Aiko, very much alive, but with damp hair.
You have a right to be angry, but I needed it all to look convincing.
Now Lord Oyoto and the monastery believe you're dead.
And they won't follow us.
Honoka gives a slight smile, taps the ground beside her.
Us.
Yes. Now come, sit.
Shun sits by the fire. Mizuki stands, scowls at Honoka.
We'd have done the job either way.
I knew you would. Only want to be with you when we find our targets.
Honoka stares into the burning flames.
So I can watch their eyes go dark.
There's no going back from this. The South will never forgive you, and the North will hunt us for the rest of our lives.
I'm already dead.
Honoka tosses a damp stick into the fire. It fizzes.
Don't bother trying to stop me. If you aren't willing to go, go. Your payment's here. But if you are, then I require something else.
What?
Honoka unsheaths her husband's tanto, holds up her hand in tattered bandages, hands them the knife.
Loyalty.
Shun and Mizuki share a look. Shun takes the knife, runs it over her hand, holds it over the fire. Her blood sizzles on the flaming wood. Shun offers the knife to Mizuki. Mizuki hesitates, then takes the knife, cuts her hand, dropped blood in the fire. Honoka takes her knife back, nods to them both, wipes the knife clean. Exterior, cemetery, entrance, day. Birds chirp by the last embers of the campfire. A red glow over the horizon. Honoka, Mizuki, and Shun step through the arch, less imposing in the daylight.
So, what now?
Honoka pulls her woodblock book from her robes, holds it out to Mizuki.
We just need someone who can put this to use.
And is bold enough to pick a fight with the North. Or dumb enough.
Shun rolls her eyes.
I might know someone.
Interior, Oyoto Castle main hall day. Light filters onto a flower-filled canvas. A delicate brushstroke touches up a wispy white cloud. Head hung low, Shijan walks down a long, sparse hallway punctuated by wood beams. At the end of the hall, a seated Oyoto paints. Shijan bows deeply. Oyoto raises an eyebrow.
My lord, Hanaka is dead, presumably by suicide, drowned in the river.
A slight furrow of Oyoto's brow. He stops mid-brushstroke.
When?
Just last night.
Oyoto grimaces slightly, sets the brush down, stares ahead.
An admission of guilt?
Oyoto nods, inhales sharply. His posture straightens.
Tell Renzai to expect me at the estate tomorrow. Ask her if the old barracks is still operational. Just a precaution.
Shijan goes to speak, stops, bows. Shijan turns, walks down the corridor. Oyoto dips his brush in a ceramic cup, murky water ripples. Exterior, dirt road day. Honoka, Shun, and Mizuki hike by a gently flowing river, lush trees and bushes on either side. Honoka trails behind the two. Mizuki looks back.
Shun.
Shun looks over her shoulder. Mizuki lets Honoka catch up.
My apologies.
No need. It's been a long day.
Honoka stares at the ground.
Did I die dishonorably? If my legacy was to be one of a sinner and adulterer, was dying even worth it?
Mizuki steals a glance at Shun, turns back to Honoka.
It will be.
Honoka looks to Mizuki, looks back to the ground.
What matters is what you do in this next life. Honor can always be regained. Always.
Shun scoffs. Mizuki glares.
We should arrive at any moment.
Mizuki grunts.
Wonderful.
Exterior, mountain road, day. Shun, Mizuki, and Hanukkah climb a twisted rocky trail, push branches away as the trail narrows. Exterior, onsen courtyard, day. Late afternoon, sun peeks through jungle trees. Flowers surround the decorative borders. A shrub-lined path leads to an ornate wooden cottage. Horses tied to hitches at the cottage front. One is Matsutake's carriage from earlier. Shun, Mizuki, and Hanukkah emerge along the road. Shun leads them to the far end of the horse hitches.
Stay behind the horses, unless you'd like to hide in the jungle.
We'll stand where we wish.
Mizuki stares Shun down. Hanukkah retrieves her woodblock book. Shun holds out her hand.
Be careful. Please.
Shun nods. Hanukkah's hands tremble as she slowly passes the book to Shun. Shun takes it quickly, bows.
I will.
Shun walks to the front door. Horses neigh, chatter from inside grows. Interior, onsen main room, day. A lavish common area decorated with exotic artwork. Lanterns moodily light the space. Crowds of aristocratic men and women drink, chat, laugh, entertained by courtesans who flirt with patrons. The front door swings open. Shun enters. Everyone silences. Shun surveys the room. Many point to a large slide door at the back.
Horse.
Shun bows to the room. Chatter resumes. Shun maneuvers through crowds, shoves loud, drunk aristocrats that stumble in her way. Shun reaches the slide door. Deep breath. Exterior, onsen spring day. A wooden patio surrounds a tranquil mountain spring pool. Lit candles, a pile of clothes on the water's edge. Matsutake relaxes in the spring. Eyes covered with a steamed towel. Arms around a male and female courtesan. The door behind them slides open.
What did I say? I'm busy with paperwork.
Shun enters.
Lord Matsutake?
Matsutake stands. Shun averts her gaze. Matsutake spins around. His towel mask plunks into the water. Candles knock over.
Ah, Shun.
Shun bows. Servants raise a towel to cover Matsutake.
Welcome. We're just discussing policy.
Courtesans giggle. Matsutake ties a towel around his waist.
I assume Lady Hanukkah made it home?
About that.
Matsutake raises an eyebrow. Exterior, onsen courtyard day. A well-dressed man and woman exit the cottage, laugh, walk to a carriage. Mizuki peeks around a horse. Hanukkah grabs her out of sight, yanks her into the jungle. Exterior, jungle day. Hanukkah pulls Mizuki behind the ferns to a thick, twisted tree.
That wasn't necessary.
Want to know what's going on?
Intercut, onsen spring, jungle day. Matsutake sits, twirls his finger in a puddle, laughs.
Excuse me. That's terrible to hear. Just seems ironic that everyone who hires you meets their end. Hope I'm not next.
Shun folds her arms.
You still might be.
Mizuki and Hanukkah walk around the onsen exterior. Hanukkah peers at the spring through a space between the trees.
I'm leaving your service, my lord.
So, I'm spared. I knew I'd hear this one day, but life without your company hardly crosses my mind.
Matsutake rubs his wispy beard.
I suppose changes do, though. Your clan needs coin and you're not making any following me around.
One more thing. I need you to identify.
Matsutake sits in the water, wraps arms around servants.
I don't know, since you're no longer in my service and all.
I don't think it distracts you too much from your paperwork.
The courtesans giggle. Matsutake stands. Mizuki and Hanukkah duck behind the trees.
This guy is such a...
All right, you're right. What is it?
Shun holds out Hanukkah's book, opens it to the back. The Asagao flower from Saisei's murder pressed into the page. Hanukkah stares at it longingly.
It's a flower from a garden.
It was found on the body at a murder scene.
Oh, a calling card. How exciting.
Matsutake reaches for the flower. Hanukkah's eyes narrow. Shun pulls away.
Not for touching.
Very well. An Asagao on a body. I know I've heard of this. I've just forgotten.
Matsutake wades into the spring, deep in thought.
I remember.
Sinks back into the water. Everyone leans in. Matsutake bursts from the surface. Shun shields her eyes.
I remember.
He stops, eyes widen, grins a crocodile smile.
Someone who does remember.
Matsutake snaps. A sweaty servant enters the onsen, grabs a towel on the way. Laughter from inside as the door opens.
There's an ally of my clan, Numachi, heading into the rat den, the north. He's a flower guy, loves flowers. He'll tell you anything about your little book specimen, symbolic or otherwise.
How far north?
Shooting the border.
The sweaty servant exits the onsen with parchment and ink. Shun follows the servant as he passes. Her eyes land on Mizuki and Hanukkah in the jungle. Shun glares them down. Matsutake shakes his hands dry, takes the parchment, writes.
Here's where you'll find him. Anything else for my Shun?
You or Shun will be going now.
Shun grabs the parchment, turns to leave. Matsutake lounges back in the spring.
Oh, and tell our friend the Matsutake clan sent you.
Shun enters the onsen to cheers of drunks.
Feels good to be productive.
Exterior, onsen courtyard day. Shun opens the onsen door, pushes past a drunk who falls on her. Shun scrambles out, shuts the door on him.
Idiots.
Mizuki and Hanukkah emerge from the brush, leaves in their hair. Shun makes her way to the horses, shoots the pair a side glance.
Speaking of idiots.
I deserve to know what's going on.
Shun hands Hanukkah her book, untethers an old mare.
We've got quite a ride ahead of us.
Mizuki cocks her head.
On those?
I've seen worse.
Hanukkah hoists herself onto the horse with a boost from Mizuki. Shun unties the stallion. Mizuki gingerly untethers a plain-looking horse.
Do you think Matsutake will mind?
Shun mounts her stallion.
It's my severance.
Mizuki mounts. Hanukkah rides down the road. Mizuki and Shun lock eyes briefly. They follow. Exterior jungle road day. Hanukkah, Shun, and Mizuki pass through a lush growth of trees and bushes. Hanukkah stares straight ahead. Mizuki looks around. Occasionally brushes a passing tree with her hand. Fidgets in her saddle. Shun leads the caravan.
And you trust Matsutake's word?
Yes, I do.
Because
it's all that we have.
But if you have alternatives, you're welcome to suggest them.
Mizuki makes a face.
I mean, we saw him at the onsen. Way too much of him.
At least you were spared the smell.
He didn't seem on his best behavior.
Oh?
Mizuki whips the reins. Her horse trots closer to Shun's.
I don't know. Matsutake has never struck me as someone concerned with others' best interests.
I agreed to this because he told me it would help my clan. We are suffering.
Mizuki scoffs.
Ugh, my clan has been starving for years. Now we have gangs, bandits, and soldiers to worry about, all because of a war that your master and his friends started.
I was with him wherever he went. I sat in on his meetings. I met his colleagues. They all want this to end just as much as you.
Then why aren't they doing anything? Why are they indulging themselves, attending fights with bandits and street thugs and
Low lives like yourself?
Mizuki scowls.
some of us didn't inherit daddy's money just before the war began.
Shun deflates. Hanukkah looks between the two samurai. Plumes of smoke billow in the distance. Hanukkah stops.
Shun.
Hanukkah points ahead. Shun and Mizuki turn to look. A large, crumbling wall rises ahead, through rusty gates and empty town. Destroyed, dusty, a far cry from home.
Is that it?
I can't tell.
Exterior, road to shooting, dusk. Beneath an orange and black sky, a winding road to a distant city. Cracks snake up the town walls, patches of burnt farmland. Arrows stick from the fields like weeds, fresh corpses for fertilizer, farmhouses smolder. Exterior, shooting town walls, night. Shun and Mizuki ride through the gate, rammed open by a charred trade cart. Hanukkah's eyes wide with horror. Wind flicks her hair. They ride past slaughtered horses scattered in the street. Hanukkah looks away. Exterior, shooting market, night. Barren shops line the road, few illuminated, some ransacked. Shun, Mizuki, and Hanukkah pass a lit ceramic shop. Silhouetted figures mumble inside, turn to the windows, snuff the candles. A symbol painted on the blinds, 2 red triangles before a large yellow one representing mountains. Hanukkah pushes ahead to ride between Mizuki and Shun. Exterior, Shootin' Town Center, night. Larger stores line a boulevard, some ransacked. Down the road, a huge trade building half collapsed. Exterior, flower shop, night. Numachi, male, 50s, burly and balding, waters large exotic flowers in baskets at the storefront. Yawns, rubs his eyes. Numachi tends to flowers one by one, waters an Asagao bush, kneels, takes one between his fingers.
Those are lovely.
Shun, Mizuki, and Hanukkah approach on horseback. Numachi grunts, plucks a flower from the plant, tosses it. Numachi looks up, sleepy-eyed.
Thank you. Shop's closed, but I can package them if you'd like.
The 3 dismount in front, lead their horses to posts. Numachi eyes his row of plants, looks to Hanukkah, smiles. Numachi glances at Mizuki, then at Shun, narrows his eyes at the fish insignia on her breastplate, grips his water bottle.
No, not now.
Mizuki quirks a brow. Numachi runs inside. Interior flower shop, night. Numachi sprints past a blur of flowers. Mizuki dashes after.
Slow down.
You wanted to get away?
Numachi runs through the back door, slams shut. A thud. Mizuki slows. Shun and Hanukkah run up beside her.
We just want to talk.
You think I'm some moron?
Mizuki kicks the door. It doesn't budge. Looks to Shun. Mizuki and Shun charge the door. Exterior, flower shop, plant nursery, night. The door crashes open. A large ceramic pot propped against it shatters. Dirt spills everywhere. Mizuki pushes her way inside. Ceramic pieces clink. Shun and Hanukkah follow into an open courtyard. A web of wood beams shadows a row of huge flower bushes. Barrels of rainwater line the wall. Numachi runs to the back. Mizuki and Shun flank a cowering Numachi.
Lord Matsutake sent us.
Numachi snarls.
Oh, I'm sure. Tell him to eat shit.
Numachi rummages in a nearby barrel, pulls out a decorated katana, unsheathes it. Shun and Mizuki step back.
Hey, we mean you no harm. There's a flower and a woodblock book. We think it's a calling card.
Numachi's eyes dart between the samurai.
I don't know what you're talking about.
Numachi's sword quivers in his grip.
Please, we just need you to.
Hanukkah reaches into her robes. Numachi looks to Hanukkah, wide-eyed, raises his sword, lunges over a flower bush toward her. Mizuki blocks his path with the blade. Numachi pulls back, thrusts at Mizuki. Shun blocks the blow, ducks behind a bush, spears her sword through the foliage. Numachi sidesteps, widens his stance, slashes blindly through bushes at Shun. Cut flowers fall. Mizuki charges Numachi from behind, bashes his head with the hilt of her sword. Numachi crumples. His sword slips from his hand, clatters to the ground. Mizuki kicks it aside.
Ready to talk?
Numachi crawls toward a table dotted with planters. Mizuki and Shun close in. Numachi feels under the table and whips out a shovel, scrapes it along the ground, sweeps Mizuki's ankle out, swings up at Shun, whacks her across the head. Shun stumbles back. Crouched behind an empty bird bath, Hanukkah looks around, eyes a potted plant. Numachi towers over Shun on the ground, lifts the shovel. A thrown ceramic pot shatters by Numachi's feet. He spins to Hanukkah. She runs, turns into the shop. Numachi storms after into interior flower shop night. Numachi clears the door frame when a tanto plunges into his throat. Hanukkah rips it out. Numachi collapses with a thump, coughs blood. Hanukkah drops the tanto, sinks to her knees. Shun and Mizuki run inside. Shun braces against the door.
Damn.
Mizuki kneels by Hanukkah's side.
You okay?
I think so.
They all look at the body.
Was he after you or the door?
Hanukkah stares blankly at the dagger. Horses gallop outside.
He was our only lead.
Mizuki reaches for the dagger, wipes it with her sleeve.
No closer to the man I love, or the man who took him from me.
Mizuki eyes the tanto's moonlit inscription.
All 7 times, rise 8.
Mizuki hands the dagger back to Hanukkah. Heavy footsteps outside. The shop door flies open. Mizuki stands. Shun brandishes her sword. Men and women in black and white armor enter, the mountain symbol from the ceramic shop across their shoulders. They startle at the sight of the 3, raise their weapons. Shun shields Hanukkah. A tall, masked woman steps forward, points to the body.
You all did this?
We attacked first. We had no choice.
The masked woman folds her arms.
Well, this made our jobs easier.
The masked woman smirks.
The Hokuto clan won't be happy with this.
Masked woman looks down at Hanukkah. Over at the body, blood pools around Numachi's corpse. The masked woman waves. The armored group departs. The masked woman turns to follow, looks over her shoulder.
Come with us.
The masked woman exits. Shun and Mizuki look at each other, then down at Hanukkah. Hanukkah stands, forcefully sheathes the tanto, brushes past Shun and Mizuki to the door, leaves.
Good job, everybody. Thank you so much for attending, folks. We hope you enjoyed. The staff is going to stick around for a bit to answer some questions if you have any. So, yeah, does anyone have any comments or questions, thoughts? Oh, yeah, Ian?
This is a super general question, but I'm also interested in historical fiction, so I'm wondering what your research process looks like.
It's a great question. Can one of our writer's assistants speak to that?
I can. The research process was a lot of, everyone kind of did their own research, looked into links, and then all of the research assistants kind of read all of it, and there was a lot of links. It was like the first time we put all the links into one doc, it was like 30 links. So we kind of split it up and tried to read everything and cross-reference things. And it ended up into being like a 20 to 25 page document of just like stuff that we could reference. And then obviously as the writers and the story editors were writing and editing, other things came up. So we would kind of just have to, you know, Google it and look it up on the fly as things were progressing.
Cool, thank you.
No problem.
Yeah, are there any other questions? A good one. Thank you. All right. Well, if there's nothing else, thanks everybody for attending. We'll be doing this again in fall. Thank you so much for showing up. You have a great night.
Bye, everybody. Thank you for coming. Hope you enjoyed.
Thank you.